So far so good. We've created a team for our general staff and we've added our help desk form to that team. And if we go back to the Office 365 side of things, we have our help desk, our IT help desk created. That's our SharePoint list created for the IT, created under the IT team. So we have the ticket ID, name, location, the manager's email or supervisor, subject, issue description, date, status, assigned tasks, and notes. So one other thing that we might want to add to this will be to add the name of the person that filled the form, right? The email of the person or the person itself that filled the form. So one way you can do that will still be to go through the process that we've been working through, so of adding an item to it. So I'm just going to refresh this page. So once it's refreshed, I can add column, and this column this time I'm going to add another person in the next. So I'm just going to call it email. Personal group, allow multiple selection, show profile photo, no. I'm just going to click on save. So once it's saved, I'm going to move it a bit closer to that. So name, email, this will be the email of the person that fills the form. Name, email, location, manager's email, manager, supervisor's email, subject, the issue, the date, status of their stacks. So I want this to go to the left. So mind you, I'm just trying to organize my work, right? So status, and last is the note, which is our threaded note. So the next thing will be to go to our Microsoft Power Automate to automate the workflow. Remember, on our workflow, we stated that once a form is filled out, the form that is added to that support channel, the form should automatically be saved to the IT request SharePoint list. And once that is done, a message thread should be created, right? So that's the first task we automate. So we are going to automate our form submission from the channel and then sending an email out to whoever was in the loop of the email about a tag that is created. So let's hover back to our Power Automate to create that workflow. First, we'll go to office.com. From office.com, you are going to sign in with your account. So once you have the account sign in, you're going to look at the productivity options, and then under the productivity option, you're going to see Power Automate, which is this. So I already have it open, so I'm just going to click on it. And then for the first time, we are going to see this. You might want to get started with that, but so here we are on the home page of our Power Automate. So what I'm going to create, I'm going to click on create to create a workflow. There are different ways to make flow, right? One would be to start from a blank and then create your own flow, or you might want to adapt a template. So you can review all of this template that's currently in place and then you can create your own flow from that. For us, we are starting with a blank and we'll begin with the first one, which is automate cloud workflow. So I'm going to click on that, and the flow name, I'm just going to send an email once if once a help desk ticket is received. So we want the action point to be okay, fine. The trigger will be, so once the form is submitted, trigger. So I'm going to hit create. So first we have to connect to the form that we want to pick the trigger. So we might want to change connection. So let me look at the connections that we currently have. Admin sign in. So let me sign in to create a connection. Once your authentication is complete, under your parameters, you are going to see a form ID. Then you can now pick a form. So in our case, we'll be picking the IT helpdesk form, which is what we have. And once we have that picked, we'll notice that the error count is gone. Now that we've added our connection, the next thing will be to add another action. The next action we'll add to this will be to get response detail, to get the response detail of the form that was submitted. So I'm going to search get response details. I'm going to add this. So under here, I'm going to select the form that I want to get the response from, which is this we're going to be getting it by the ID, which is this guy. So once we have that, we're good. So the next thing will be to create an item on our list. Now that we've gotten an item from the SharePoint, now that we've gotten an item from the form, so create item on our SharePoint. So I'm going to select that. The SharePoint name will be the IT team SharePoint, which is where we have our list, our helpdesk list. So I'm going to select helpdesk, and under here I'm going to wait for it to sync and then click on show all. So the first option we get to see here is the title. So I'm going to click on function. I want the title to be unique, so I'm going to use a timestamp, uh, format date time. So the first function will be UTC now, which is current timestamp, correct? So, and the format I want to get it will be year, month, day, hour, minutes, and then in case of, so I also want to add seconds to that, seconds, and then add that to that. So we have the first one, which is a timestamp. The next one will be name. So I'm going to go with the dynamic function, and then I'm going to select name from the form. For the image chain, I'm going to leave this as blank, but we'll use this later on. So for the location, I'm still going to go to dynamics and then select location. Supervisor emails, I'm going to do that also, select supervisor's email. For subjects, I'm going to select and then select subject, request subject. Same thing with issue description. And lastly, on the date. So for dates, we're going to do a function. So there are two ways we can actually do the date. Either we do it from here or we do it from the other side of things. So regardless of how you want to do it, just do what works for you. So date time function. So we can select that date difference, date add, replace date. So for me, I like to do the dates from the SharePoint list side of things. So I can just head over to the list, come here, column settings, edit. At least it saved me the stress of date and time, and then say default value to be today's date. Select the date time. No, we use today's date, and that solved the problem for that. So let me go back to our Power Automate. So we have that sorted. So for assign tags, we'll fix this later by assigning it to this, so someone. Remember this, for the status value, the default is new content ID type, right? Content ID type. So now that we have that all created, remember there's one column that we need to create, which is this email claim. So for this email claim, I'm going to enter custom value, go back to dynamic, custom value, click on dynamic, and here I'm going to add responders email. So whoever responds to the email becomes our email claim. So now that we have all of that set up, let's take a look at what we have. Note to be from the back end. Content type ID, we don't really bother ourselves with that. Of course, there are other things that are created on the list that you might want to go delete, but that's if you want. So the next thing will be to add a function that send an email once that is created. So I'm going to use the action send email v2. Let me search for that. So I'm going to do send email v2, send an email v2. So also I'll use sign in to create a connection. Somebody filled the form, right? So we need to respond to that same person that okay, we've gotten the response. So what we'll do is to include the person's email, right? So on the settings, I'm going to click use dynamic content. So once I click on it, the next thing will be responders email, right, which is the person. The subject will be the subject he or she entered during the request subject, and the body of the text will be bunch of some body of this thing. So I'm just going to copy something very simple. So I'm just going to paste an email here. So we are telling the person that, dear, so for this we are going to add his or her name. So by going to the dynamic content again and then selecting the name, which is the name of the person. So two way, you can select it from the SharePoint side or select it from the form side, regardless of where you want to do that. So we are going to say, dear person that's send the email, we have received your ticket summary will be the ticket number, ICT reported date. So the ticket number will be, let's say, ICT, for instance, ICT blah blah blah, whatever ticket, the way you write your, the way you write your ticket or something. So but remember, it's just gonna be the way your ICT slash help desk, let me use that, help ICT slash help desk, let's use HG. And then here I'm just going to append it with a dynamic content, which is the title. Remember what our title is. We've already formatted that as our timestamp, so it's really going to be long, right? So the reported issue, now we cannot include it here. So dynamic content, the description of what the person, issue description, what the person reported. So the status, we said it was new, we move it to in progress, right? So and our current team is working, blah 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 blah. So if you have an email for your tech team, or I can say, let's say 6A comma Oran Street blah blah blah, the location of my office and all that, just the way you normally do, your this thing. So once we have that granted, we can review that. We are saying, dear name, thank you for reaching out to our help desk, we have received your ticket summary and all of that, status in progress, and our tech team is currently reviewing the details, and we work to resolve this as quickly as possible. So you can do that, and once you are good with that, boom, you're good and you are ready to test we are ready to test our form. So let's go back to first do a test on the form. Don't forget, remember to save your work. If you don't save, it's not going to auto save and you are going to lose your work. So always remember to use the save button to do that. So you have a test option to this if you decide to test directly from your Microsoft Automate, or you can go through the manual route of filling out the form. So I'm going to go through the manual route of filling it out. So once we have that saved, the flow is currently saved, so I can go back to my Power Automate, go back to my flow, and then let's test it out. If we encounter an error, we are going to fix it, because that's what we do, we fix errors. So we have that created. So I'm going to go back to my team, go back to the helpdesk channel, which is where I have it, and under helpdesk I'm going to fill. So the my name is Abel, for instance, and my location will be Doro, and my manager supervisor can be, so Abel Doro, and my manager's work email is this, and the request subject will be laptop, let's say laptop charger. Country, hi, dear IT, my just say, dear IT team, I noticed. Let's go back to our Microsoft list. On our Microsoft list, we can refresh to see if that changes work. So if it doesn't work, perfect. So now we can see that the item we just created has a ticket ID, uh, has a name, has an email attached to it, so location, and then we have a manager or supervisor email, which is this. So of course it grabs the person that fill out the form, which is me, and then this is the manager supervisor currently added to it. The task is not assigned to anybody yet, and the status of the task is new. So we can see our form is working, so we can go back to Power Automate. Let me refresh. So once I refresh, we can see that, and here I'm just going to click on that. So once I click on the flow, I see that one of the flow has run, it ran at so time, and is currently successful. So far so good. We've been able to integrate our form, that's our form from our SharePoint site, to our Microsoft list using Power Automate, so that whenever a user fill out a form in the Microsoft Teams channel, the form is going to, the Power Automate is going to run and then trigger the form submission to be populated back on our backend, which is our Microsoft list. The last thing we might want to confirm is if the email part of it works, whether the email was sent to the person that really filled out the form. So we'll go back to our Power Office and then go to our Outlook. So from the Outlook side of things, we can check things out. So on our Outlook, on our Outlook, we can see that we really got an email on that regards, which is, dear Abel, thank you for reaching out to ITF Desk. We have received your ticket. The ticket summary, this is the ticket. We forgot to add the slash here, so we might want to do that. This is the ticket number, and then the issue reported was this, and the status is in progress. So one more thing that we want to do is to copy the manager, right? The manager should be copied on this email, so that's why they are adding their managers to the email. So say for instance, for of course they always want to keep their manager in the loop of conversation, so that's where the manager's email is required. So if I go back to the Power Automate, I'm going to edit the workflow. So from here I'm going to go back to the send email v2. So we have the body created, parameter important, sensitivity we just want to keep it simple. So for advanced parameter we can expand that and then click on CC, which is there. Under CC part I'm going to use the dynamic content, which is that, and I'm going to specify that issue add what manager or supervisor's email. So once I have that, I'm going to close that and I'm going to click on save. So once any help desk ticket is logged in, an email is going to be sent to the person that logged the ticket, and then the copy will be the manager's email. So far so good. We've been able to integrate our workflow, so, and we have our form sending data to our Microsoft list. So the next thing we might want to look at for will be to assigning the task to someone. So how we can do that will be to, for the IT team to manually come and then select a member of the team that they want to add this task to. For in our case, we can just say, okay, I want to assign this task to Adevi. So once I click on Adevi, Adevi knows that the task. So but one thing that we might want to add to that would be to still create another workflow, so that whenever a task is assigned to someone, the person gets to know that, oh, so task has been assigned to him or her on your Microsoft list. So that's what we'll be creating next in the next video. Stay tuned.